guy that came up with this quote or wrote it is Jack D. Schweiger. And if you haven't read his book, The Market Wizards, what he did, his claim to fame, he wasn't much a trader, but he went around and he interviewed, 20 or 30 big time traders that have made big money, trading billions of dollars. And he studied a lot of successful traders. And every one of them came back and said risk management is key. You can blow yourself up if you don't do that properly. Okay. And I've always come back to this quote: what does financial freedom mean to you? It's kind of like for those folks that are on a diet and they put a picture on their refrigerator of someone who's in really good shape. And, the saying that, the pain of eating better food or getting away from sugar or a lot of carbohydrates is not as good as the way you feel when you can get into clothes that you couldn't get in before and you just look great, right? So, or your health. So, financial freedom in the trading markets, it's a good news, bad news thing. The good news is you can create financial freedom in a short period of time, all right? The bad news is a lot of you will not be able to do it because you will not exercise discipline in risk management, and that is what it is. And sometimes it takes someone to go bust once or twice or perhaps more before they figured it out. Me personally, I had to go bust twice. I'm a former Marine, so what can I say, right? Where sometimes we can be stubborn, but eventually we get it because we don't give up. And others are a little bit smarter, and they start out as a fresh trader, and then they may lose a little bit of money or a lot of money, and then they figure it out without going bust. So risk management is a very important thing. Another quote that I saw that I loved is I have two basic rules about winning in the trading game as well as in life. First, if you don't bet, you can't win. And second, if you lose all your chips, you cannot bet. I mean, spoken like a true poker player, but also a trader, right? Again, Harry Height, a very famous trader, okay, before most of your time frame. But he basically sums it up very quickly: is if you can't put chips on the table, you can't play the game, right? But you got to put chips on the table to play the game. It sounds like anachronism. It sounds like, well, gee, that doesn't make sense, but it does. Everything in the trading world comes with risk, and you will lose some bets, guaranteed. But being able to understand when to fold them and when to hold them. And as I said earlier, I think I made this quote to a bunch of you folks. At the World Series Championship Poker, the champion that wins may only win 25% of his hands that he plays, or 20% of his hands, but he just knows when to bet and when not to bet, when to walk away, when to fold, even when he's got money on the table. And that's what risk management is all about. Very important. Again, what does financial freedom mean to you? All right, it can mean anything to anybody. If you're hot rod, that means you're on your jet ski with a bucket of Corona behind you, and you're jumping waves, chatting and texting on your PC. But most of you get the idea, right? Now, in risk management, I was going through and I pulled out all my notes and all the things that I do in risk management. And I've really broken it down into three things. The first thing we're going to cover tonight is foundational risk management guidelines. These are just things that most of you may already intuitively know. Some of you may not. Some of you may pick up a few things. Okay. So these are just foundational elements. The second part of risk management, dynamic hedging, we will do that in our next session. In dynamic hedging, I am actually going to take what we talk about today and apply it to some real trades. And we're going to put up some charts on the screen. And I'm going to go through how you can control this through a hedging. I'll define what a hedge is. I will break it out between portfolio margin account. That's if you've got over 125,000 in TD Ameritrade or over 100,000 in iInteractive Brokers. That's generally the kind of the cutoff there, roughly. And how margin is calculated in PM accounts versus non-PM accounts. So I'm going to go through all that. And then how do you hedge your trades? If you don't have portfolio margin, what are some of the ways you can hedge your portfolio? Besides going to cash, which is one way, but I'll talk about how to hedge. If you've got portfolio margin, I'll show you how to hedge your portfolio that you cannot do if you don't have portfolio margin. There is a difference. Different strategies maximize portfolio margin, and other strategies do not maximize portfolio margin. So for those of you out there that have portfolio margin, meaning you have over 100, 125,000 in your account, it's going to be a really a good session for you. Okay, so that's dynamic hedging. And then the third thing we're going to do, which will be in the third section. So in risk management, we've actually got 3 separate webinar sessions to cover all of risk management. And when I say all of risk management, folks, there's books out there that are 500 pages long that weigh 10 pounds that cover different dynamic elements of risk management. I will give you some reading material at the end, but I'm going to give it to you from kind of a Cliff Note version so that you will be at the end of the risk management section of our option masters. You'll be much better off than you were before going in. Okay. So these are the 3 areas of risk management that we're going to cover. Each one takes a separate session to do. Otherwise, we'd be here 4.5 hours and you guys would pass out and I don't have the voice capacity to do it. So these are the areas that we're going to cover. Tonight, we're going to talk about the foundational risk, just basic terms, basic ways to do risk. The third one is developing a trading plan. I've noticed when I do coaching, especially newbies or folks that are beginners or maybe advanced beginners, if that makes sense, where you've been trading for a few years, but generally you don't have a trading plan or a trade development plan and a risk budget plan. And I'll ask you about risk, and I can tell just in the way you answer that you haven't really put it together. So we're going to actually spend about an hour going through a trading plan development. And then how do you report on it, or performance reporting? Okay. And there are a number of different areas of measuring your performance on a trading plan. All right. I do it every month and every quarter. I track the performance and I look at it. And then, when you have a portfolio slippage, where you've got risk on individual trades versus risk on the portfolio itself, you need to adjust. So I hope to cover all of this over these 3 separate sessions. So risk management is going to account for probably about 5.5 hours total of video time and session time. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. I will say with risk management, however, that very rarely will you get an email that says, hey, sign up for our risk management course. It's, $300. We're going to talk about it, or 400 or 500 or whatever they're charging, and learn all about risk management. All of the emails, if you think about it, that come into your inbox, don't even talk about risk management. All they talk about is a 95% win ratio, and win 100% of your money, or double your money every 2 months, 3 months, or whatever the pitch is. Why? Because they're appealing to the rat brain self that you have. For those of you that are not in my user group, rat brain, those of you in my user group, you understand we're always talking about rat brain. Rat brain is when you do the very thing that you should not do, an undisciplined move. It's something that has natural human tendency. It's like a former alcoholic that just, the smell of alcohol, they got to stay away from it. Everybody has rat brain tendencies. And we want to avoid them. So by the time we finish our option masters, you will see, you'll have a pretty good firm understanding of what I mean by rat brain. Okay, so we're going to go into all 3 of these things, but all the emails that come out to you don't talk at all about risk management. I would bet there's maybe 1 out of 50 that mention risk management in the subject line. The bulk of them talk about high percentage win ratio, easy money, the couch potato trader, the make money without trying emails, all this other stuff. And if you really apply a little bit of logic to what the emails are saying, then it kind of makes you wonder why they're even sending you the email, because if they could do what they're saying in the email, they don't really need you. They don't need your money. It's kind of like a poker player that never loses, and they just say, okay, I'm just gonna go out there and I'm gonna go to Vegas and win. I don't need to teach anybody and charge, that kind of thing. So this is kind of where we're sitting here. That is why all the emails don't mention risk management, not at all.